Okay, we're back. We're live. We're here in the famous Think Tech Studios, Pioneer Plaza, in the core of downtown with Cullen Hayashida, an old friend, and old is the operative word. Welcome to the show, Cullen.
Thank you very much, Jay. Appreciate that.
Cullen is an advisor at St. Francis Healthcare Systems. The show, if you hadn't noticed, is Aging with Grace, Tuesdays at 4 p.m., one of my favorites. And today we're talking about, and watch this title of the episode, is Our Kupuna, Our Coming of Age, if you hadn't noticed.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, Cullen, you met, you and me, we met must be 10 years ago or more. You were at KCC. You were running the Kupuna program at KCC.
That's correct.
You've been in Kupuna for a lot of your
long
life.
time, a long time. About
Dedicated
40 years now.
Oh, boy. After a while, you're going to be one of them.
Oh, I'm already there. I'm already there. Although, the 70-year-old is the new 40s,
Thank you for that. We needed to hear that. So tell us about your career, how you got involved in this, and how you have expressed your career and your passion.
Well, it was kind of accidental in many respects. I had been living in Cleveland, Ohio, of all places, because I was teaching in the Sociology and the Asian Civilization program as the Assistant Director of Asian Civilization, teaching about 18th, 19th century Japanese and Chinese society, of all things.
I got it. That and Kupuna.
No, it had nothing to do with Kupuna. And we had some health issues with my daughter, and it was time to move on. So we came back to Hawaii. And I struggled, tried to looking for a job, and it was oftentimes considered to be overqualified. I was eventually picked up by Kuakini Medical Center, and they basically invested in my education. And they said, we're going to give you a desk, a chair. We're gonna teach you about geriatrics, and we want you to start doing some work in this entire area. And so they basically launched my career.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And you've been a big figure in that, as far as I'm concerned. You've been at the center of the, call it the community initiative to deal with the problem of taking care of our kupuna.
Thank you. Well, there's still a lot more that we can do. And I think, media now, and the kind of work that you're doing here with television and with the internet, of course, is going to be absolutely essential just to get more of that word out.
Yeah. And tell us about your activities now. I know you're doing several things in and out.
Right.
What's the universe for you?
Well, right now, I had been involved with a company that I owned, Kupuna Monitoring Systems, which was a medical alert service, for about 13 years. And I decided to sell it this year to a New York City company that has decided to really keep our company's name and all of our staff, and then do it the way in which we've been doing it. And so I will sort of shepherd this service, the program over the course of the next year and a half or so. So I'm doing that. In addition, I'm working with St. Francis Healthcare Systems of Hawaii, which is no longer a hospital and is now trying to redefine itself basically as an elder care focused program. They're no longer going to do acute care, general hospital care. Mm-hmm. They're looking at the entire Liliha campus as a Kupuna village. Meaning that they'll bring in nursing home services, they'll want to work on assisted living, adult daycare, and I'm going to work on some training activities and look at active aging. The active aging focuses on...
What does that mean?
What it means is we want to look at those that are entering retirement or are still active and engaged and have 20 to 30 more productive years left, but oftentimes do not know what to do with their lives. And there's a lot of things that we can do in terms of coaching them and giving them some suggestions with regards to physical fitness and mental fitness and nutritional fitness and financial fitness, even civic in terms of giving back to the community. And all of these things, I think, will help people make people well and perhaps engage in the future. And we need to keep working at that because that population is huge. And that population also has so much to give to the community, right?
Sure.
Rather than simply channel surf all day long.
Sure. You can't just send them away.
No.
You got to bring them in, include them, and get benefit out of them.
Absolutely.
But it strikes me that the thing at St. Francis, this campus you're talking about, is very valuable.
Absolutely.
Because it could be a template for other such campuses elsewhere, don't you think?
I think so. That's our dream anyway. You know, there's a lot of things going on as far as what can we do to address this high cost of healthcare right now. I think more and more our families are beginning to realize this thing is very expensive. I was just talking to Senator Suzanne Chun Oakland the other day, and she said, you know, when she first came into the legislature, Medicaid's budget was about $400 million a year. And that was decades ago. Today it's $2 billion a year. $2 billion, you know, and it continues
That's here.
It's in Hawaii.
In
Hawaii. Yeah.
Huge jump.
It's a huge jump, and it's even larger than our Department of Education's budget right now. So we're giving more monies to our older adults and our frail elders, which is a good thing, of course, you know, because they've contributed a lot to Hawaii. But we're neglecting, in a sense, or we have this potential of neglecting our future generation, and that's a question that we have to ask ourselves in terms of what kind of society are we trying to create, right? So these are challenges that we face right now, and we've got to come up with better solutions, and tax monies alone may not suffice. You know?
Yeah. So let's talk about, you know, what we got here. Mm-hmm. We got a problem. I think you'll agree with me.
Yes.
We don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
We don't have the systems to take care of our kupuna. Years ago, you know, in the statehood times, there were informal systems where they were all cared for. I mean, I wasn't there, but I came shortly after, and I could see that, especially on the neighbor islands.
Yes.
There were ways that people took care of the elders.
Right.
Now, those ways maybe have eroded a little bit.
That's right.
And we don't have anything to fully replace them.
Yes.
So the cost, you know, it has to be paid for. The cost is more than they can afford.
That's
we
right.
have some slides. Let's look at them, and you can explain.
Well, we have this one slide having to do with the cost of long-term care, which I think is something that people may oftentimes not be fully aware of. Homemaker costs, homemaker services, these are, you know, very basic non-medical type services, like assisting people with making sandwiches at home, or helping to clean up the house, or taking care of their laundry. So this is the eating and bathing and dressing and grooming and, you know, feeding and toileting. So these are oftentimes considered to be non-medical homemaker type services. If you were to just assume that a person is being paid, let's say, about $15 to $20 an hour, maybe 20 hours a week, you know, you're running a bill of about $54,000. And most people cannot absorb that kind of cost for a very, very long period of time. Seniors today right now have probably an annual income of under $15,000 in Hawaii. In Hawaii, and most of that is with Social Security. So you look at $15,000, and after a year or 2 years, older adults will find their most of their assets wiped out. Yeah. So you know, that's expensive. Home health aides, of course, you're doing a little bit more as far as medical care, but that's also, you know, $56,000 a year. Adult day health care, that's like daycare with a little bit more medical services that could be involved with in terms of physical therapy and nursing services. $17,000 a year. That's approximately about $70 to $100 a day, going 5 days a week. You know, but that's not all day, right? That's only during you know, that 8 to 5 period.
Yeah.
So that's a big chunk of change. Assisted living. You know, we've got these different programs like Plaza, you know, the Plaza, at Punch Pole, and the Hawaii Kai is, you know, the Hawaii Kai retirement community. Those will run generally about $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Yeah. Again, you know, that covers your meals, but as soon as you become too disabled, they want you out of there, because they can't handle that. So, you know, I mean, $48,000 is still a lot of expense. And when you go into a nursing home, you're looking at, you know, $124,000 to $135,000 a year. These are huge costs, and this people are quitting their jobs in order to take care of mom and dad, and find that when it's time for them to retire, their pension funds obviously has deteriorated or depreciated significantly.
Yeah.
That they don't have much left.
Yeah.
So it affects the next generation.
Sure.
So this is becoming a societal issue.
Yes, I agree, absolutely. Whoa. How do you really feel about it?
Sad.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. We have some more slides we got to cover. That's Cullen Hayashida. He knows about seniors.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen, host of Likeable Science on Think Tech Hawaii. Come join us every Friday at 2 p.m. when I interview interesting scientists about what they do, why they do it, and why we should all care about it. It's a lot of fun to see. We hear, and you can learn interesting stuff. You'll hear all kinds of fascinating science, and we know you'll have a great time. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name's Hillary Weinberg. I'm the host of The Whole Gamut on Think Tech Hawaii. See us live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. or on our YouTube channel to hear us talk about world affairs from Hawaii and beyond. See you then.
Aloha. Welcome to Think Tech Hawaii. My name is Josh Green. I'm a senator from the Big Island and a physician. I host a show weekly called Healthcare in Hawaii, where we talk about the most important issues in healthcare for our state, whether it's the dengue fever outbreak, the state of our public hospitals, how to find physicians and nurses for our patients, or really just the best things to do for our family's health. That's what you'll find on this show. I'll bring experts to your attention, and we'll have a free-flowing dialogue. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, we're back. We're live with Cullen Hayashida. And as we left this exciting story, he was talking about how these numbers on that slide, huge numbers that so few of us can afford,
Yes.
those numbers create a societal problem. And you described how the double generation effect, which is very scary, how the younger people quit their jobs, they can take care of the older people. When they get old, then they can't afford it.
Yeah.
They cannot afford being old. And we've yet to see this fully play out, but we should be concerned about how it will play out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So talk about the societal problem and talk about what kind of solutions are there.
This whole area is extremely challenging because we've got so many different groups that have different perspectives. Just looking at the cost issue alone, and we say, well, private sector has created long-term care insurance. Now, insurance companies have been in the business with long-term care insurance, but they've been actually getting out of the business. So the number of companies that are involved has dwindled significantly, and they're very picky with regards to who they admit as an insurer. So that's probably an approach that is going, at the present time, is probably taking care of maybe about 10 or 15% of the population. That's it, nobody else. Then there's reverse mortgage that some people have property and they're real estate rich but cash poor, and you can sort of get some equity from that, and some people have been able to use some of that. Others have family, and you try to kind of ask them for some assistance, but now the state legislature has been looking at some kind of a long-term care insurance approach.
State insurance.
State insurance, and they're trying to consider a way of using general excise tax, maybe an add-on of about 0.5%. And if one were to remain in Hawaii for a course of, let's say, about 5 years or so and build residency, so to speak, then you can pull down on that. But even there, we have an uphill battle with the legislature, but those are the kinds of discussions that we have to have. But even on a broader scale, we've got all these different groups that have been representing different perspectives. And my thinking is that several years ago, we created a long-term care commission. The governor selected some people, the the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate also selected some individuals. And this was like a core group of experts that worked together over a course of an entire year to come up with some recommendations with regards to what we should do. And they came up with some good recommendations. But then after their work was done, they decided to disband.
So no action
We
was
should
taken.
not, we
No
should,
action.
no, yeah, no, there was no follow through in a sense. In a sense, Hawaii needs a long-term care commission that continues. It needs a group that can continue to provide advice apolitically, basically, and because we may have different perspectives, but they all have to sit on the table over a course of a year and just work it out, you know, for the betterment of the people, and that we don't have right now.
There's no government agency working on that
Because
right now.
no government agencies represent a particular, you know, perspective. Often, the hospitals oftentimes, you know, have their perspective. Medicaid has their perspective, and even the families, the caregivers, have their perspective. But oftentimes they are fairly weak as far as being, you know, influencing the process. But we need to have them on the table, and we need to have the others listening to their concerns as well.
Advocating for them.
Advocating for them, you know. And so, but this has to be a group that continues on a long-term basis, just not on a one-time,
Is
one-shot
this something that is pending? Has this been?
No, we have not, that has not been reconsidered at this time, but I think that eventually we need to move towards that type of advisory group that can provide input beyond the 3 months legislative period, which oftentimes is quite chaotic
quick,
and,
yeah,
and oftentimes is not necessarily
You don't
the
get
best time to-
thoughtful results that way.
or good thinking or good,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
good analysis, yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about long-term care. It's very expensive to do
Yes.
that. I mean, even if you can get it, and now you say it's going away, or at least carriers are leaving the field. I mean, there are not a lot of options. And the reverse mortgage,
Yes.
those are economically really hard
They're very hard.
because they don't treat you very well.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, so part, I think, what we also need to look at is we need to look at older adults themselves, and the term that we use is active aging. We need to look at older adults that are retiring and those that are recently retired, and recognize that these are individuals that probably have another 20 to 30 bonus years. And we need to find ways of keeping them engaged. And we're talking about maintaining physical health, maintaining medical health, nutritional health, social health in terms of keeping in touch and maintaining relationship with other people, financial health, financial fitness, right? People that are spending all of their monies today and not thinking about their needs tomorrow are going to basically place a burden on the next generation. So we need to think about active aging. How do we train people to begin to think this
Well,
way?
in large part, that is train them to live at a standard of living that is lower than the standard they have been accustomed to for most
That's
of their
right.
working lives.
That's right. That's right.
Which is a little sad, as you said, and question, you know, there must be resistance on that. If I tell you you're going to have to live at a lower standard, you're not particularly
Well-
happy about it.
Well, you know, as we age, we don't need as much, you know, glitter. And after a while, traveling to Vegas gets old.
Touche. You heard it here on Think Tank, I tell you now.
And people oftentimes, you know, I mean, how many times do you need to go to the golf course? You know, and I've seen people who have maintained physical health, financial health, and social health, nutritionally, they're all very well, and yet there's something missing in terms of purpose, you know. And if we can somehow And I think this is where engaging, trying to find some kind of social purpose, something that is bigger than themselves, something for the next generation, dealing with maybe our problem with homelessness or education of the next generation, or this sustainability issue, you know. All of these issues will take the best minds. And we've got older adults that are retiring, that have a lot of experience, you know, a lot of engineers, a lot of physicians, nurses, professionals, even paraprofessionals and blue-collar people that have skills, and they can give, you know. And if we can somehow create the infrastructure within Hawaii to make that roadmap possible for them to go to the next process, and then there's reason to maintain physical health, because you've got to help that and maintain that purpose.
There's reason to live.
Reason to live. Reason to live.
You know, terrible if you sort of shown the pastures, taken out to pasture, nothing to do, nobody cares if you live or die.
Yeah.
Your children are far away in many cases.
Right.
So this is really huge, but hard. How exactly do you do that, Cullen?
Well, this is why I'm trying to assist St. Francis. We're looking at different sorts of things. One is television, and this is why we're here, right? We want to get the word out, and other social media, right?
Yeah,
so that's number one. The second is we're looking at every county in Hawaii has a senior information handbook, right? American Savings Bank in on Oahu, for example, you know, publishes this for our City and County of Honolulu Elderly Affairs Division. So if you look at this handbook, it's about maybe 60, 70 pages long. It has about 300 agencies listed in it. These are all nursing homes, adult daycare, Meals on Wheels, assisted transportation. In other words, all sick care stuff. Good, very important information, but it's sick care. We need a companion handbook, senior information handbook, having to do with well care, about active aging. We need guidance.
Well care. Got
Right.
it? Well care. Yeah, I love that.
We need information about, hey, where can I get some information about maybe an educational opportunity or volunteer opportunity, or maybe job opportunities, or maybe other things that will keep me engaged, and I don't, maybe even some life coaching information. We don't have one place where we can get all that information.
Like a placement center, a senior
Yes.
placement center.
Right.
What should I do? Tell me what's available.
Yeah, you know, when we graduate from high school, we've got all these these advisors, right? These counselors that are helping us with our careers.
Yeah.
But think about it. We've got 30 years after we retire, and we're lost. You know, you go to, so the third thing that we want to do is we want to create, we want to look at our present retirement seminars, and we've got them all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Retirement seminars are basically financial information giving, sessions, right?
Yes.
What's your Social Security? This is what you're going to get from Social Security, your pension, and your health benefits, and so on. Adios, you out of here. Now, these people, though, are still saying, wait a minute, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. I think they still need some advice with regards to some directions. And I think this is where we'd like to spend some time.
Sure, and you want to be sensitive to it. You know, the thing is that in the volunteer world, we'll talk about the money-making world in a minute. In the volunteer world, you have so many options. You could do anything. And you're retired. You know, you're not encumbered in that way. So you can work for any charity, any nonprofit that pleases you.
Right.
You have so many options. It's
Right.
really wonderful.
Right.
Like ThinkTech, for example.
Right.
You know, a number of people here work as complete volunteers, and this is what we choose, how we choose to spend our time. And I think the same thing applies for Kupuna everywhere. How do you choose to spend your time?
Right.
Be satisfied. You
Right.
know, have that personal satisfaction that
Right.
you get out of it.
Yeah.
But let me go further and say, what about making a living? And
Yes.
what about making some money in the process?
Yes, there are people that have enough and can volunteer, and other people need to work because they're finding that their 401s have sort of just, you know, crashed
Melted away, as you
after
said.
2008, right? And so many of them do need to look for work opportunities. And so this is all part of this senior information handbook that we want to try to create. Find some pathways for people, and they're out there. you know. But oftentimes it's not that easy. Now, if you're very conscientious and keep at it, you might be able to eventually find. So, but some people will find that they get one or two discouraging experiences and they give up.
Yeah.
And it has a lifetime of consequence if you do that. What we want to do is create the structure or the methods, the roadmap, so that we can accommodate and make it as easy as possible, so that people can continue to be engaged and contribute. And
you could also build organizations, right?
Yes.
You can make profit-making organizations,
Absolutely.
companies that are
Yes.
staffed.
Yes. This is the other part of that. Today, older adults, as a general rule, is not necessarily something that young people or culture as a whole look very much, with positive sides. You look at geriatric medicine. Kids are not that interested in going into that. Same thing with geriatric nursing, geriatric social. We have the hardest time getting kids into those fields.
And the Kupunas have the hardest time getting people who can do that.
That's right. That's right. And so what we need to do is create opportunities, or make kids aware that the boomers have money. Okay, boomers have money, and they got money to spare, and they need different kinds of products. Okay, so let's say, for example, I'm interested in clothing wear. Well, if I'm into fashion design and I go into try to make clothes for teeny boppers, well, that's one market. But the boomer market is expanding very rapidly. They have a lot of money, but they have particular needs in terms of color. Maybe they need more Velcro. Right? Okay.
Stays on anyway.
Right. And so. Here we have another slide that I wanted to share with everyone.
Look at that.
And this gives you an idea with regards to different kinds of industry, from non-medical carrying, equipment, information, leisure, finance, and so on. There is just an explosion of different kinds of industries and businesses that can emerge related to the senior market that have money. And so what we need to do is work with the business community. We need to work with the colleges and junior colleges to make kids aware that if they want to remain in the business, that they should look at this particular market that's growing and that has some money. And maybe with that kind of thought process, we might get more kids going into and taking some courses in gerontology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And furthermore, you can hire some seniors to staff your company.
That's right.
Hire a senior today.
That's right. That's right.
I want to tell you a short story. When I was a kid, I was part of a camp system in New York State, upstate in the Catskills. And one of the camps was really a special experiment in social work. It was two kinds of campers. One with the seniors and the other with the juniors, little kids. And they got along famously.
Yeah.
The kids loved to play with the seniors, who were very attentive, and the seniors loved to be around little kids. And the result was like this kind of nirvana.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's so much to learn from each other, right?
Yeah.
And it's intergenerational. We've got to support that kind of thinking. Just to have seniors in assisted living facilities or in gated communities, that's not reality, right?
It's not a quality of life.
It's not a quality of life.
Yeah.
But
we have quality of life during our breaks.
Okay.
We're going to take a short break. That's Cullen Hayashida. He's an advisor at St. Francis Healthcare Systems here on Aging with Grace. We'll be right back.
Aloha, my name is Kaui Lucas. I am the host of Hawaii is My Mainland, here every Friday on Think Tech Hawaii at 3 p.m. I invite people who are doing interesting and inspiring things in our community to help us keep it local and keep it real. Tune in any Friday, 3 p.m. and also available on our YouTube channel and my blog, kauilucas.com. Hawaii is my mainland. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Reg Baker, and I'm the host of Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. Business in Hawaii is a program that is positive stories about business in Hawaii. We're tired of hearing the negativity and why it's the wrong place to have a business. We talk about the positive reasons for having a business in Hawaii and how to be successful. We broadcast live every Thursday at 2 o'clock. We look forward to seeing you. Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live. Final segment with Cullen Hayashida, PhD, advisor at St. Francis Healthcare Systems. So one of the things about these special kinds of businesses hasn't happened yet, but the legislature could give incentives, could identify them as, socially attractive businesses for all of us, and try to build them with incentives, and that's the way you build an industry.
Absolutely.
I hope that's on your list of things to do.
Tomorrow, I'll work on that one. I'll work on that tomorrow. Yeah, there's various things that that the legislature and the state can do to encourage certain. We've done this with technology.
Sure.
And if we, it's interesting that I think it was a couple years ago, the United Nations had said the 21st century has three major challenges. Right. One has to do with security and terrorism. Another one having to do with resources and this whole idea of sustainability. Mm-hmm. Third of all things is population aging. This is all over the world. Yes. That's how huge this thing. This has a potential of actually seeing countries decline, population decline, which is already occurring in Japan. It hit a high of, in 2000, I think the year 2000, of 127 million people, which is half the population of the US, squeezed in an area the size of California. And now they're in this downward slope. By 2050, they're going to be about 90 million. And if you just project it out, someone had once said that by the year 3,000, of course, that's too far in advance, but there'll be about 1,000 Japanese left. The point being here that this is a tremendous challenge that we have, and we've got to find answers to this. And so population aging is here, and that we've got to somehow deal with this.
Yeah, it's part of the 21st century for sure. If we weren't catching on it before, now we have to address it. So you have some more slides?
I have this one that I wanted to share with you, this last one here. Yeah. And it had to do with this whole question as to how can we in Hawaii address this question of building industry, right? Building industry that will support the people to remain here and to do good things, as well as deal with this whole aging population issue. And so what I have here is an idea that actually was suggested to me by Professor Takeo Ogawa from Fukuoka, Japan. Mm-hmm. And so what, on the one hand, he says, well, on the right-hand side, you've got training activities. We can be very conscientious in developing training activities from the paraprofessionals and the professionals, community colleges and the university, and we can become very good at that. And what that will do is it'll bring people over from other countries to come over and learn how we do things.
Make it a center right here.
Absolutely, right? And then you got businesses. We can create age-friendly business incubators. This is just what we were talking about here, and we can start doing that. In the community, we can create age-friendly intergenerational community. This is what the mayor is trying to do with age-friendly city, right? So we can do some of that. With tourism, we can create long-term care tourism and training, showcasing Hawaii as a place.
Show them that we care, that we have infrastructure for them,
right,
and that we'll take care of them in every way.
Right, and they can learn from our, on the way in which we do
how
things,
we do it. Yeah.
Right, same things with consortium building and having conferences here. So in a sense, it becomes a platform for the creation of an economic development model for social change in Hawaii.
Right. There's a huge number of people involved, and it will get bigger. The bell curve will make it bigger and bigger.
Absolutely, yeah.
A higher percentage of population going forward.
And we got to get our young people to recognize that this population is not just one that has to be seen from a negative perspective, but as an economic opportunity.
They make our economy better, and the idea is to do just that.
That's right.
So, but I want to discuss with you in the next few minutes before we close, The Ghost of Christmas Future out of Charles Dickens. What happens if we do nothing? What happens if we just lock up on this and don't take any of the steps you're contemplating, or don't make any of the, what do you call it, social advances that you have in mind? You alluded to this in the futuristic look at Japan and how the population would diminish. What would happen in Hawaii if we did nothing and let the present sort of negative trends continue?
Well, I don't know about, I don't necessarily think that we would have a decline in the population per se. We do have people coming in from the mainland, but we could continue to have this growing divide between, you know, the wealthy and those that are down and out.
It's already very noticeable.
It's
with the
already
homeless and all that.
Yeah, and with the elders that begin to experience a lot of chronic disease and that cannot be properly managed and maintained over time, they will be falling at home in great numbers, and then we won't have children or, you know, neighbors or family members to come in and provide assistance. So you know, one consequence already that is that we have a lot of police activity, a lot of fire department activity, ambulance services going to these places. And no one wants to say, well, we can't do this because it's too expensive, but there is cost associated with it. This thing keeps climbing. This is going to really break the bank. Medicaid already has gotten to the point where it's the largest expenditure line item within the state budget right now, more than education. So these things are going to make it very, very difficult for us to see our economy grow. We're going to have more problems with possibly abuse, neglect. Homelessness is going to become...
There's nothing so tragic as a senior who has had a middle-class life, worked all his life, winds up doesn't have enough money for an
and you know, the irony oftentimes is that oftentimes these are individuals that left their jobs in order to take care of mom and dad, and then found that they lost on their pension benefits, and then they, you know, at 60 or 65, they're non-competitive in terms of getting the job back.
There's a moral element to this, isn't there? I mean, we cannot tolerate having this kind of thing, this kind of scenario, as you described, happening in our community. We must not tolerate that.
Yeah, well, you know, I think it was Senator Matsunaga, once I recall talking to him years ago, he was saying something about that, you know, perhaps you can tell whether or not a society is a good society to the extent that it cares for its older people, you know.
Yes.
And you know, this is something, there's some ethical issues that we have to address, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the other thing is that, you know, if I'm a senior and I don't have enough money and I see the handwriting on the wall, I split. I find a cheaper state. I mean, this is theoretical. It's only a logical possibility. Yes. But is that happening? Will that happen? And what will the effect be?
That's a possibility. We may have some people that will leave. You know, we have people that have been relocating to Vegas and to the West Coast. We might find maybe also a great number of children, adult children, leaving, because they cannot find jobs, and then find that doing long-distance caregiving becomes an impossible task, and so neglect and abuse becomes much more prevalent.
Yeah. You know, I'm reminded of a client I had once who was running out of money, and she made a survey on the net of all these care homes around the country, and she found a really good place, she thought, in Pennsylvania. And all the numbers were good, the physical location was good, the company was a national care home company, everything was good, and she was ready to go, but she stopped. Why? This would have been a much better economic experience. Why? Because her friends were here. all the things in
Yeah.
Hawaii that made her stay
Yeah.
for her whole life.
Yeah.
She would be leaving them.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is the greatest tragedy of
that's
all, to have to give that up when you're most vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah. No, you know, one of the things about old age, it's not the chronic disease management part. It's boredom, it's depression, it's loneliness, you know. And these things will in turn create medical problems, you know.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we got to deal with this socially too. Yeah. And so there's something special about Hawaii, and then so to the extent that we can create maybe communities and rebuild communities with this special, you know, people helping people type of a culture, I think that's going to have to be part of the answer too.
Cullen, we only have a minute left, but can you address our special camera? That's the camera of young people over there. Those people in that photograph are young, and they're drinking at a bar today, and they don't know what we're talking about. Can you talk to them? Just tell them, you know, what you would leave with them about this discussion.
Well, I hope they can hear my voice over all that din, you know, with the noise behind the glasses clashing, right? But I would say that look at the older adult population, regardless of what industry you are in or are looking at. If you're in college, you know, what major you're in. Let's say you're going into nursing or business or computer science or whatever. Keep in mind that that your customers invariably going to be, to a large extent, will be older adults. And that means that to the extent that you understand that older adult market and how the needs of this particular population better, you probably will be much more successful in your upcoming career. So take a look at that and don't discount the importance of gerontology.
Thank you, Cullen Hayashida, advisor, St. Francis Healthcare Systems, here on Aging with Grace. And the title of our show was Our Kupuna, Our Coming of Age. And we have to have you back when you can tell us again how you really feel. Thank you, Cullen.
Thank you.